Welcome to the Ergo2go podcast, brought to you by the Back School and Ability on Demand. I'm your host, Matt Jeffs. We bring you interesting people from the world of ergonomics, on-site injury prevention, risk management, health, safety, well-being, and a whole lot more. Don't forget to subscribe below and click on the little bell in the upper right-hand corner to get the latest info on the overlapping fields of ergonomics, health and safety, risk management, human resources, and healthcare, right here on the Ergo2go podcast. Today's returning guest is a prolific author on outcomes economics. He's one of the foremost acclaimed speakers on population health. He's been featured in most every major lay and healthcare publication, but he still can't get his kids to clean up their rooms. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the Ergo2go podcast the co-founder and CEO of Quizzify, a learning platform that creates health-literate employees, Al Lewis. Al, welcome back.
Thank you for once again having me on, Matt.
It's good to have you back, and I enjoyed the intro. Wanted to get into Quizzify and the need for Quizzify. You know, we've discussed online, bantered back and forth about many workplace wellness programs employ misguided health challenges. And if you'd allow me, I've got to share a couple that I saw on site at a place that I worked. I worked at a big 1,000-employee plant in Florida. And we had this biggest losers contest they'd have all the time. Well, it seemed on the surface like, wow, that's a great idea. But what wound up happening was it ended up supporting yo-yo dieting. I mean, workers would, I'm not making it up, go to buffets and bulk up before the weigh-in. And then at the end of the period, some would misuse diuretics to get their weight down, just to get the biggest, and the biggest drop and win the prize. Are these some of these outcomes that we end up seeing with these misguided wellness notions?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's human nature to cheat on these things. And the difference between cheating on a Biggest Loser contest and cheating on other things in wellness is that you're harming yourself.
Right.
You know, and I, like Schlumberger is probably the best known major company that does a Biggest Loser contest every year. And I've written to them and I've said, you know, this is a fantastically stupid idea. Right. And instead of writing back and saying, of course, I just read the literature, obviously you're right, this is going to reinforce people's worst tendencies toward yo-yo dieting, will probably harm them, and they're not going to keep the weight off. They actually tried to figure out who at Schlumberger I was linked in with, who ratted them out.
Oh my!
This is what we're talking about here. This is Schlumberger. You know, their stock price is so far down. You'd think they'd have better things to do than try to get their employees to bulk up and then crash diet.
Yeah. If I can throw another one in, an example, the company, I won't name names, they ended up giving out as a wellness initiative pedometers. Well, it was hilarious what came back. You know, I would work with the lay people, again, over 1,000 employees. So I worked with everybody in the plant. And people would come back proudly and tell me how they gamed the pedometers, like putting them on their dog's collar and then turning them loose all day in the yard, or putting them on the end of a string trimmer, or throwing them into a clothes dryer. And all of those things will rack up pedometer points. Is this, again, doesn't this inspire employees, frankly, to be dishonest?
Of course it does. I mean, I always tell people, you know, you want to create a culture of health. What you're doing with these things is creating a culture of deceit.
Right.
And it's not just the Biggest Loser contest and the pedometers. I mean, if people send out the health risk assessments and they say, you know, how much do you drink and how much do you smoke?
Right.
And of course, you know, the country is apparently full of non-smokers who only drink on rare social occasions, you know. So I just don't understand why this is so hard for people to understand. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we did at Quizzify was we figured out how to take cheating, which is a natural human tendency in these things, and instead of trying to pretend that human nature doesn't exist, we actually encourage people to cheat. We encourage
really?
People. Yes, we encourage them. to go look up the answers before they answer the question, so they get it right.
Yeah.
So it's quote unquote cheating,
Yeah.
but they're much more likely to remember the thing. So channeling, harnessing human nature is a vastly better idea than trying to deny its existence, which is why there's only one or two communist countries left on Earth, right?
Yeah. One of the things that I admired about Quizify's mission is to create a health literate employees. Why, I guess in some of the examples we just gave, I mean, why is workplace wellness, why does it need health literacy out there? I mean, there's probably more to it.
Well, I generally I have a tagline, which is to create a culture of health, you need a culture of health literacy.
Yes.
So the classic example, and this is right on the front page of the website, though we have many questions like this, is you try to tell employees to avoid added sugars. Say, okay, on the health risk assessment says avoid added sugar. I mean, literally, that's the exact phrasing. Of course, they also tell you to eat non-fat yogurt, which is full of added sugar.
Right.
But what we do at Quizify is we help people identify the ridiculous number of places where sugar is added. Look at the understand the definitions. There's like 64 different ways you can put sugar into things without calling them sugar. Understand how to read labels, and especially things that, oh my goodness, there's granola bars.
Right.
Okay, so they are just basically sugar factories, and the one we have on the website, they hide the sugars in the labels by putting granola or quinoa. It's quinoa they put first, but there's 10 different kinds of sugar. And then you look at, say, a Cliff Bar. Now, a Cliff Bar, if you actually manage to you have to like peel the wrapper up and then and put your reading glasses on in order to
That's
actually
right.
read.
Yeah.
And then once you read them, you see the first ingredient is organic brown rice syrup.
Yep.
And
dehydrated. Yeah,
well,
even
they have
often.
that. Yeah. Well, they have that too. They have
Yep.
that too. So they usually list it twice. But the question we ask in Quizify is the first ingredient in Cliff Bar is organic brown rice syrup. This is a good source of antioxidants because it's organic. B, a good source of fiber because it's brown rice. C, the single most creative way we've ever seen to say sugar. The funny thing is, and someone's going to actually be putting a video of this. They said when they took the question, they said, I think our break room is full of these things.
Yes.
Went in, looked at the break room, read the ingredients, sure enough, organic brown rice syrup, and then worked with HR to kind of hide them. I mean, you can't get rid of these things. They're just going to be people who are going to find them, but just don't like make them front and center.
Right.
And then people teach them about the sugar. So maybe they're not going to they're going to be more cognizant of all the ridiculous amount of sugar they eat. And sugar is like the prime culprit for everything these days, and 74% of packaged products have it.
Yeah.
So teaching people how to understand it, if we did nothing else except for that and 4 or 5 other things, we would be hugely successful at Quizify.
It's amazing. You also, I remember, and again, some of our banter back and forth online about keeping standards up in terms of who you align with. I noticed on your website that you run things by members or faculty, if I can use it, of the Harvard Medical School. And you also often mention U.S. Preventive Services Task Force and choosing wisely. So I like the restrained approach that you kind of work that into all of your content. Is that safe to say?
Yes, actually, let's do those one at a time.
Please.
So the Harvard Medical School, we do have a relationship with them, and as of right now, we're the only folks who do. This is not to say that they've shut the door on others, but they have very high standards, and good
Yes,
luck as a wellness vendor trying to match those standards. So we are allowed to put their shield on our material because nothing in the area of healthcare. Obviously, financial literacy and benefits don't carry the shield because those are important areas too, but that's not their expertise.
right.
But everything related to healthcare, carries their shield, or it doesn't go out. We have a few where we just disagree and we don't put the shield on, but that's 5 out of 1,000 questions kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then we do follow the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force guidelines, as do they, and the guidelines call for much less screening and prevention than most people do, because most people don't understand false positives.
Yes.
And a classic question that we don't ask in Quizzify, because it's just a little bit too hard for our audience, is if you're looking for a classic thing that a wellness vendor does, looking for something wrong with somebody that's a 1 in 1,000 shot, and you have a test that's 90% accurate looking for that thing, and you do it on 1,000 people, you'll probably find the person who actually has the hidden kidney ailment or whatever. But if a test is 90% accurate, it's also 10% inaccurate.
Yes.
Which means that you'll also find out of the 1,000 another 100 people or so who have nothing wrong with them, who just test wrong. So you end up sending huge numbers of people to the doctor who don't need to go. Now, so in Quizzify, we take exactly the opposite approach, and we teach people when they should go to the doctor, when they should get tested, when they should not get tested. And you see, there was just like somebody had a brain tumor and just was saying everyone needs to be tested for brain tumors. No, everyone emphatically does not need to. You should not get tested for these things. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force gives a lot of these things a D, and we try to teach people that, as we sometimes say, just because it's healthcare doesn't mean it's good for you.
I love that tagline. Oh, I so steal that. That is, you're exactly right. And the potential to wind up in very invasive, very, radical treatment that may or may not have been necessary is a real possibility.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not just a possibility. It happens all the time. We do twice as many stents as the average developed country, twice as many CAT scans, twice as many MRIs. These things carry hazards.
Right.
And not to mention expense. I mean, we spend, depending on what particular statistic you believe, about 30 to 40% of our healthcare spend is on things that, as Atul Gawande says, aren't going to do you any good and may harm you.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Al, I love this. Can I trouble you to hang out for one more segment, and let's delve into a little bit more, because again, I think our listeners are benefiting supremely from this conversation.
Great.
So happy to have you on. Before I do my sign off again, one more time, if people want to learn more about the important work you're doing with Quizzify, what's the best way for them to find you?
Just go to the website, Quizzify.com, and play the game, and then hit, it says send me more or tell me more or something, and eventually it will get back to me whether you like it or not.
I did play the game, and I didn't get all the sugar on the granola bar, but I'm going to go back and try again. But sit tight, Alan. Let's do this.
All right, again. Great. Okay.
Thank you. Folks, you've been listening to and watching the Ergo2go podcast. I'm your host, Matt Jeffs, brought to you by the Back School and Ability on Demand. We bring you interesting people from the world of ergonomics, on-site injury prevention, health, safety, well-being, and a whole lot more. People like Al Lewis. So don't forget to subscribe below and click on the little bell in the upper right-hand corner to get the latest info on the overlapping fields of ergonomics, health and safety, risk management, human resources, and healthcare right here on the Ergo2go podcast. Until next time, let's be safe, let's be smart, and let's be helpful. See you next time, everybody.